In this video I'm showing how I made some do-it-yourself hurricane shutters. This was my first hurricane experience as a homeowner, and I found that all of the hardware stores almost instantly sold out of plywood, so I had to get a little bit creative here and build these out of broken down pallets. And the upside of using pallets is that they're pretty strong and you should be able to acquire them for little or no cost. I got these pallets from behind a Floor and Decor. These stores are in a lot of Florida cities and they always seem to have extra pallets that they're trying to get rid of, but pallets are pretty easy to come by, so I'm sure you can get them from anywhere. I picked up this DeWalt wrecking bar from Home Depot, and I would definitely recommend using one of these instead of a hammer since it gives you a lot more leverage. This is one of the downsides of using pallets for this instead of plywood, is that it's very labor intensive. And in prying these boards off you have to be kind of careful or else some of them will split and crack. And as I went along here I just hammered the nails down. Pulling them out wasn't really an option since it would have been really painstaking, and we only had a few days to prepare so we were kind of crunched for time. So I just went back with a multi-tool later and buzzed all the nails off. One thing to note here is that sometimes the pallets use these normal boards as studs, and then another time you'll get these boards that have the grooves for the forklift, which seem to be a little harder to make use of. So the first thing I did here was take some measurements of our kitchen window. And I used my miter saw to cut them to the right length. And if you had to hammer the nails down to the side, just watch out for those when you're cutting. And this is kind of another example of where it's a little more labor intensive than if you could just take a piece of plywood and cut it to size with a circular saw. But when you have no other options, some protection is better than no protection. All the hardware stores still seem to have plenty of 2x4s, so I grabbed some of those to screw the slats to. I just made sure all my measurements were right here before screwing the first slat on. It helps here to confirm the measurements because if it's a little bit off and you screw a bunch of slats on, you might have trouble fitting it in the window. Once everything looked right, I started laying out the slats. One thing that I noticed with these pallet boards is that they have a lot of imperfections, so you will find some that are bowed or bent or cracked or just cut differently, so you will have to account for that when you're laying them out. And I would highly recommend using an impact over a normal drill to put these together. I use these 2-inch Spax multi-purpose screws. They have this T-star head which makes them insanely easy to drive. I don't think I had a single one strip out. For this particular window that I was boarding up, I wanted there to be a 1/2 inch of a lip that would hang over the windowsill, so I did a lot of measuring before screwing each board down. Luckily, the other side goes a lot quicker, there's not really any decisions to make, so you just screw the boards down. But I know time is valuable, so I'm going to speed through that. And despite all the measuring, I was still a little off in one place, so I had to take my multi-tool and shave one of the corners down. What I'm using to fasten these to the house are these slide bolts. Normally you would use these for a gate, but they're made out of strong steel and they're only about $5 a piece. And they also have the advantage that you could put a lock on them if you were worried about looters or something. So I just lined the latch up here and then screwed it in with these 3-inch Spax screws. These screws have a wide washer head, and I found that they do a really good job of holding the latch to the boards. To mount the little loop that the bolt slides into, I just made marks where the screw should go. I used this triple grip anchor and screw kit from Home Depot. These are kind of nice because they include a masonry bit that's the right size for the anchors. Like many homes in Florida, mine is built with stucco on concrete block. So if yours is wood, you'll probably have to find a stud to mount to. And one thing that I found that helps with these anchors is once you're deep enough to move the drill back and forth, this gets all the dust out of there and it really hollows the hole out so the anchor has room to go in. Then I just took a hammer and tapped the anchors into the holes that I drilled. They should go all the way in and be flush with the wall, otherwise you'll probably have to pull them out and drill in a little further. And then just use the screws that come with the kit to mount this little loop, and I'll speed this up a little bit. So this is kind of what the finished product looks like. Whenever the next hurricane blows in, I didn't want to have to frantically drive around town looking for plywood and supplies, so I wanted something that was already built that I could quickly put up to protect the windows. So all I have to do with these is just fit them in the window and then slide the latches in place. I probably won't use a lock, but I think I will put a bolt through this little loop to keep the latches from rattling open if things get crazy. One last tip is that it helps to label these so that you'll know which window they're for whenever it comes time to put them up. So that's it for this video. Just thought I'd share how I prepared my home for a hurricane without the benefit of plywood. Hope this was useful for somebody out there. Hit the like button if this video was helpful, and thanks for viewing.